Hello everybody, and welcome to day one of our coverage of the National Farm Machinery Show here in Louisville, Kentucky. We have the great pleasure of being here for the 60th anniversary of the show, and we'll be covering it over the next few days. The show is from February 11th to February 14th at the Kentucky Expo Center. And well, this place is absolutely massive. Let me go show you a map of the building. If you've never been to the National Farm Machine Show here in Louisville or to the Kentucky Expo Center at all, well, this is going to be kind of some new information for you. We are standing right in front of the Freedom Hall, and the way this building is set up is we're going to be going in day one to the North Wing lobby, and we're going to be exploring basically the North Wing, hopefully in its entirety. Tomorrow, we're going to make our way down to the East Hall and the South Wing A and B. Hopefully we'll be able to cover both of those sections. My plan is to pick up Wing C on Friday. I think I said Friday already, but basically today is Wednesday, so we're going to hit North Wing. Thursday, most of South Wing. Friday, the rest of South Wing. And we'll come back over here to the West Wing. And really, we've got then Saturday to kind of catch up anything that we may have missed. Now they are expanding onto the Kentucky Expo Center. Next year, we'll have yet another section of this facility to explore up here around Lot J, I believe. So that'll be interesting when we go next year to see how we're gonna have to split it out between all the different days. When you do visit, be sure to pick up one of the complimentary booklets here. It's going to have lots of information about the show, the floor layout, where the various vendors are located, and such. And once again, to give you a general overall view, the North Wing is what we're going to be looking at today. The East Wing, and then a part of the South Wing is what we're going to explore in tomorrow's video. And then we'll wrap it up with the West Wing over the course of the last 2 days of the show. Let's go see if FarmSim is represented at any of the booths. Last year there were a few various vendors with FarmSim set up to demo their machinery. Now today will be the least busiest day of the show, being that it's the very first day, and I'm getting here right around opening, so there aren't too many people here. This will be the best opportunity we can get to get real good views of this machinery. Now, a trend that we're going to see with respect to this show is that everything, absolutely everything, is going to be so much bigger than we are kind of expecting. If you are a FarmSim fan, then lots of this machinery you've probably used in either base game format or mod format. And well, there's some average sized adults. And well, there's the tire. So here we have the Advanced 351 Kuhn spreader. And like I said, this thing is massive. Everything is huge here. All of this machinery, which scale-wise is really underrepresented in the game. Right? Like probably in the game you thought that thing was 5, 6, maybe 7 feet tall. No, it's massive. I really like how they have things open up here at the show because you can really get inside and kind of get a good sense as to the mechanics and the inner workings of all this machinery. Now, for those who maybe are new to the game, it's Farming Simulator, you may not know that Coon was brought into the game with an expansion DLC in Farm Sim 22. Prior to that, we did not have this brand in the game. And one of the big things that was introduced with respect to this brand in Farm Sim 22's expansion was a square bale wrapper. Up to that point, round bales were the only way you can make silage bales. But with the introduction of Coon as a brand, we were able to then use square bales to make silage bales. And for me, that was a pretty significant game changer, because at the time, I really didn't like the round baler and having to stop constantly in order to have to unload and everything. Thankfully now there are PC mods that make that process a whole heck of a lot easier. Now, a brand I would like to see make their way into the game to some degree, although, well, at least with Farm Sim 22, we did have kind of several smaller vehicles. That is Cote. They are kind of a more smaller vehicle manufacturer. Great for little yard tractors or small hobby farmers. I think they would have a place in the game. They do have some larger machinery. This one's set up with like turf tires to some degree. Now, last year's show, they had a really cool sculpture here at their booth, but I don't see that this year. I was hoping to get some information about the power ratings of this, but guess not. $25 to 40 horsepower for this loader. That'd be a nice skid steer.
Yeah, I would probably just go.
Yeah, as low as. I'm not, it's not, we're not going to look at it on this side. But if they want to ask, I'll have it ready.
And then this is probably going to be their biggest tractor model. So this tractor is 98 horsepower, $77,000. I said, probably make a pretty good yard tractor or basic tractor for grass work.
Grizzly cooler.
Kinsey's here, and well, quite frankly, I would say all the major brands are going to be here, as well as lots of brands and products that you've really never seen before. This show, over 4 days, we're going to see probably well over 300,000 people in attendance come through the various doors of this facility. As you see the show through these videos over the next 4 days, I think you're going to see a significant uptick in the attendance factor. Kinsey, of course, added to the game in Farm Sim 22, another brand coming in. In fact, I misspoke earlier when I said Coon was brought in Farm Sim 22. I think I said that. It was brought in actually in Farm Sim 17. because I was just thinking that with Farm Sim 22, there was a huge influx of brands that got introduced. Looking back at the game from Farm Sim 17, which is where I started, it could easily have been said that you know, there wasn't a whole lot of base game machinery. There was maybe 100, 150, 200 pieces of machinery spread across all the different classes and products. Now, that's a different story completely. We're looking at well over 500 base game machines across 100, 150 different brands. Kloss is here. Kloss is starting to have a very big presence here in North America. I see lots of forage harvesters. I see lots of mowers with Kloss. Not a whole lot of harvesters so far, at least not in my neck of the woods. Another green brand that we see a lot being introduced here in the States is Fendt. Fendt's definitely here. I don't know if they're going to be in today's video. I think they're probably going to be over in the South Hall. So we'll see them probably tomorrow or the day after.
Fertilizer.
This would be the 8700 Lexion TerraTrack version. Again, I like how they have things open up here so we can get in and really see how these things work. It'd be nice if we had more interactivity with base game machinery, the Farm Sim, where we could open up doors and panels and see a lot of this machinery work, inner workings of the machinery. We get mods from time to time where we have that capability. It is always a nice feature to be able to open things up and just see mechanically how all this stuff is functioning at a you know, at a game and hobby level. Now Mahindra is kind of another brand I'd like to see more in the game. And I'm sitting here thinking, we have Mahindra. I think really they're limited to side-by-sides. I'm not really recalling any Mahindra tractors or other aspects, but something that I really would like to see brought into the game just because it's so unique and interesting is this little Jeep offshoot called the Roxor. It's kind of an upscale, upsized side-by-side with, you know, street tires, full cab, some amenities that you would expect out of a, you know, a real vehicle with respect to a transmission, gear shift. Interestingly enough, on the way to PAX East last year, I actually saw one of these on the road. I was taken back when I first saw it. But yeah, something I'd really like to see brought in would be something like this, just because it's kind of cool. And what's kind of neat about this show is so much of this machinery is hands-on, in that you want to get in it, you want to see what it looks like, feels like to be in it, you can jump up in it. Like, so for some folks, this show can be kind of a kid in a candy store, because you're like, well, I never will get the experience to get up into a giant Kloss harvester. Well, the show's here, and while that harvester was shut, it looks like they weren't having people go in it, at least today. That is an option for lots of the different brands and lots of different booths here at the show. A brand lots of people would love to see come to the game, Mikhail, And to some degree, I thought maybe it might be like a sleeper brand that was going to come to Highlands Fishing. But sadly, I was disappointed, as was probably lots of other people, with respect to this brand. In talking with a rep from McHale last year, it's an interesting story about how this company came about. According to the rep we talked with last year, McHale started out manufacturing or basically servicing slurry pumps and slurry moving machinery. And then I guess morphed into the forage. And that's kind of what they're, kind of known for more or less today. And this would be the F5 550 fixed chamber baler. For those of us here in the States, makes a 4 foot by 4 foot 1 inch round bale.
Yeah, as far as I know, this one's, instead of going the whole way back north, it's getting dropped off back at Richard once the show's over. And, I mean, to be honest, we haven't done much with the canvas pickups. I know other brands that have canvas pickups, and so these two, yeah, this is the cam pickup we've been using for years.
Round bale wrapper combinations. Got a couple of those here. Like I said earlier, the big theme and the big trend with this entire show is going to be just scale of everything. C460 bale shredder. And a very big tedder. Or how about a front mower, butterfly mower combination? If you didn't know how these mowers work, the blades on them are pretty small. Here we've got the blade out to demonstrate. And you see there's the blade. It's pretty small, and it whips around 10,000 RPM and is only really held out through centrifugal force. If it hits any sort of object, you see how the blade moved very easily with my foot. The theory is the blade gives way before it goes and destroys itself or tosses rocks or other debris possibly at the operator. And that's why all of these have really heavy curtains also to, again, hopefully catch any debris that is shot forward by the blades before they would go into possibly the cab and injure your operator.
saw things that
Now, while the first baler we looked at had a fixed chamber, these balers have variable chambers with the ability to make bales anywhere from 2 feet to, I believe the balers we just looked at previously was 5 foot something in diameter, whereas the V8960 here, as you can see, it's going to be able to make bales up to 6 foot 3 inch diameter. For those of you outside North America, well, you have to do your own conversions. It's not all big machinery at the show. We've got some small machinery, maybe some power washers. We'll see a lot more of this next item when we get over to the West Hall. That typically has a lot of cattle, gates, cattle equipment. But here we go. WW Livestock Systems. In my opinion, a pretty sweet booth here on the North Hall. Because my opinion is most of the people don't go to the West Wing. A lot of people spend most of their time, if not all of their time, basically at the North and South halls or wings. Trailers, Coyote trailers here. We'll see more trailers later on today and tomorrow. Chrome might not get you home, but you sure look pretty lit in there. We've got a couple tankers, trailers, from Mac. Chemical mixer for your sprayers.
Then we go back to the weighing mode for the other.
So the 7.81 pounds is his target. So because this is mounted on load cells, he can weigh in the exact down to 100. So if you got a little bit too much in, like that, 700 to the ground, you know where it is.
So it gets recorded.
But that's how accurate it is.
So this first bolt's done, the second one's running. The next thing for me to do will be this trophy gold, and it calls for more than a judge. So when that square gets big, that's my problem to put the trophy gold in. I'll put the jug right on the rinse nozzle, and it's going to shoot air in the jug. It'll drain it, it'll weigh the chemicals, and then start rinsing.
You can't dump it that fast.
Weigh, then you catch the weight, it starts rinsing. While it's rinsing, it's draining the inductor, so it doesn't fill.
So when you pull it back up out of there, it's water that comes out.
We got 2.07 gallons. 4 pounds here. This is wrong too. I think I got it.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey,
Have you heard of beet juice before?
I have seen you at the show in years past.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Use that as ballast as opposed to a gel or...
As opposed to calcium chloride, which is the traditional solution. It was great because it's heavy and freeze protected, but it's corrosive. That's the downside of calcium. So our product is just as heavy. It's freeze protected to negative 35 degrees Fahrenheit, but it's a non-corrosive product, and it's safe for the environment too if it escapes the tire.
Is it freeze resistant because of the sugar level, or is there an additive?
Yeah, it's a natural antifreeze. There's no additive.
Okay.
No, it's a natural antifreeze in its raw form. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for stopping. Yeah, this is a new addition this year. We thought we'd be the only ones here with a pinball machine, so.
I'll have to tell you later.
Yeah.
My goal is to explore the whole show in the next 4 days. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I know there's.
Yeah, the show is a great opportunity for smaller brands, smaller companies that you've maybe never heard of or seen, to be seen by, again, like I said, potentially hundreds of thousands of folks. You can probably, you know, just like the old Super Bowl ad where you blow your entire ad budget on one ad spot because you know you're going to get, you know, massive views. If you've got a limited marketing budget and it's worth it to blow your load, if you will, on possibly a booth and coming to the event, because it could have a significant impact on your overall bottom line over the year by getting out here and, you know, having so many people get kind of eyes on the prize, if you will, of what you offer. MDS Manufacturing, making various attachments for your front loaders, skid steers, wheel loaders, telehandlers. KMC. This would be a poultry house cleaner. Something we have quite a bit of in my neck of the woods is poultry houses. And then peanuts. So lots of people have been wanting peanuts to come to the game. Possibly KMC representing here with. That would be interesting.
AMC.
We've got Conrad here for grain storage, grain handling, grain moving. It's always fun seeing bin companies set up their booths basically with small versions of their bins. Feeding systems, watering systems. Got King Cutter here, representing with some of their attachments, some of their mowers, and other small equipment.
I know, I just told Amanda. But you got it off Amazon.
Just so you can.
Now, a brand that I think, quite frankly, I feel underrepresents themselves here at the show is Bergolt. You know, they've got some big machinery. We've seen them bring some big stuff into game from this particular brand. But sadly, I mean, their booth is pretty small here. I guess they want to spend their marketing budget elsewhere, like we've already kind of talked about. But we just have some kind of planner setups here, demonstrating their various planner configurations. Walker mowers.
You can see pushing his. You want to go faster?
But then, yeah, it's one-handed operation. And then you're just right here all day. Just 2 fingers, that's all it takes.
Oh, we gotta let our lens adjust here. Ironcraft. We've got various butterfly mowers and other attachments here. It seems like so many brands get a booth, and well, once you get prime real estate, like right here at the main entry door, you never are going to give it up, because I think, from what I understood, the waiting list on spots for manufacturers to be represented here is quite long. So once you get a booth, you never want to give it up. If you're at the show, this might be something you want to look into. The herd giveaway. Take a photo of this particular mower and post it on social media. As we zoom in on the QR code. I showed this earlier, I think, but the underside.
Yeah, we wear the
Well, that was one thing.
Geringhoff is here, and well, it was pretty prominent in Farm Sim 22 with some machinery. Came Farm Sim 25 with some more new cool headers. Remember, here at the show last year, we were talking with these guys some about their inclusion of some of their specialty headers in the game. They've got a sorghum header and some other specialty headers to make harvesting faster for those select crops. This one's just kind of showing off the header's ability to flex. Don't know how well it's coming through on the video though. We've got another setup. Shows really the flexibility of the header over here on a corn pickup. Right, we got the center way up here, and then the sides have flexed down quite a bit. Sure to follow the ground and get the best out of your crop. J&M, another official brand in the game, being represented here. 17 to 2300 bushel cart on 2 axles. And well, yeah, here we go. Let's just say there's your hitch, just for scale.
100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100. 100.
as I try to get the whole thing. You're gonna have to wait, come out here, wait to the wall in order to get far enough away to really capture this setup here, showing the travel that the independent axles have. 16 inches of travel vertical up and down, and they are steer wheels as well. Maybe you don't want to go with the wheeled version, you want to go with tracks. Here we've got one of the said tracks just set up. To give you an example, see the dot on the ground. There is a light in the chute, kind of to show you, like, okay, you know, where you see the dot is where your grain's going to go. Company rep said this particular auger wagon is capable of unloading 900 bushels per minute. So a 1,700 bushel, 17,000 bushel, you're out of there in pretty quick order to get back to the field to unload your harvester. Because of course, if the harvester isn't running, then the harvester isn't earning its money. The operator isn't earning his money. So the entire goal is to keep this thing running, keep those harvesters running non-stop during the day. John Deere and Giants brought us precision farming, an upgrade or an add-on, really, in Farm Sim 19. Well, we've got represented here precision planting. Know where you're planting, know how much you're planting. I guess here's your very first token John Deere piece of machinery that we've seen so far to show. John Deere will be over another day over on the south wing. A local dealer has a very, very large booth represented there. So you'll see plenty of your John Deere being represented there for any fans. But at least today we have one token piece of JD Green. So here we are back at the Precision Planting booth, the PTX booth. And they've got an interesting demo here. Kind of game comes to real life, an autonomous grain cart. So there's no operator in that Fendt tractor. As you can see, it just runs along the field, pulls up to a harvester, unloads said harvester, and then theoretically runs out to a waiting semi to unload. So kind of a real life horseplay setup, if you will. Really neat. Titan Tires is here representing custom tire solutions for all sorts of needs. And tires of all sizes. Basically representing the advantage here. I know some of you out there are really big fans of big flotation tires.
Still have the big metrics at the 838s.
Hustler. We got a bale unroller here. I mean, that would be an interesting mechanic in the game to not just put a round bale for feeding, but to actually require you to unroll it out for feeding. Drainage, tiling, and something else that you may see or notice, and I found kind of interesting when I first attended the show, but you know, it kind of makes sense, is that show being here in Kentucky. Kentucky is very much ag industry focused as far as the state. There's lots of FFA programs, lots of official school field trips. So as I was saying, there's lots of ag field trips here from various school districts that can make it to the show over the course of the next few days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday especially. There will be lots of buses pulling up, lots of FFA kids kind of running around the show. From what I understand, it's some sort of project they got to do. Typically, they've got to meet certain booths, see certain things to check off, kind of certain items to get credit for, I guess, coming to the show. As far as class credit, but I always kind of found it interesting that it was, you know, officially sanctioned field trip to come to the National Farm Show. Thunder Creek, with their various refueling trailers, service trailers. All right, so this one's set up with pumps for both diesel and DEF fluid. As well, of course, your tanks for both of those. 990 gallon tank on this one.
Ryan has some traffic over there that helps like get into a boom truck and
power, air, tools, everything you might need out in the field to do any sort of service or repair or maintenance. I wish there was a bit more of a maintenance mechanic to the game, simply to make trailers like this a bit more useful or functional for the player to have, as opposed to just simply running them out to the field to refuel a harvester. Random breakdowns or random needs to service after so many hours of operation. We have a little bit of that in the fact that if you don't service your trailer or your header you know, yield is reduced a bit, and things like that. But used to be with back in FS 17 and 19 with the Seasons mod, we actually had issues where if you didn't service your vehicles over a period of time, well, your vehicle just wouldn't start, and or you would have a difficulty starting it or keeping it running because of the fact that you needed to service your vehicle. So that was kind of a neat thing. We've seen add-on mods from time to time that involved like greasing or needing to add grease to a piece of machinery after some level of operation. But sometimes the implementation of those has been a little wanky, a little janky and such. It would be kind of interesting to see that get used a bit more, or implemented a bit more officially and formally. Well, it's still at the same time allowing players to, you know, turn that off if they just didn't want to do that level of realism or simulation. Of course, not everybody can afford new machinery, so used machinery is very popular most farmers. And well, here you got your token second John Deere of the day, a 2021 509R with I think 90 hours on it. I guess it just didn't work out. They probably upgraded to something like that Coyote or McCormick that we saw earlier. And for you old school International fans, or maybe Massey Ferguson fans.
And these things here have changed everything. Yeah, that's exactly right.
1468. Or a Massey Ferguson 1150. $1971, $56,000, 4,300 hours on it. It's barely even broken in.
So you have metal.
Or a slightly newer 1973, 1468, $89,000, 5,000 engine hours on it. You know, all work, no play. So why don't you get yourself a diesel airboat? We'll just forgive the fact it's got a Ford logo on it.
We strive for perfection, so if there's a way to improve the drive, I'll pass that on to our engineer. You want a bag for that?
Split lift doors. We've seen these on some modded placeable buildings. come to a farm sim. Interesting system. This has got winches, motors on the bottom, and as it pulls the straps, then the door lifts up. Then we have one over here that's set up with hydraulic. Grab a bucket, fill it with tools, pay $5 per pound. Maybe you need a wrench, a small wrench. That's only like, you know, $20. You know, seating here at the show is always a premium. So when your entire booth is all about selling seats, what better way to sell seats
Yep. Sounds good.
than to offer someone a seat?
Good deal.
Well, you know, once you're out of the field and you're back at home, maybe you need to relax in some nice yard furniture.
They got that.
Or outdoor heating systems.
Everybody just talks about how tough. I can actually keep it on top of it, so I get about 32 hours out of it. Okay. It's not very easy width-wise, so you figure out double. I don't think I've ever used that.
So Go Serve Global is an interesting organization and setup. They've got a partnership with Cup grain bins, and they just basically bring these bins in, set them up as houses, kind of to rebuild homes that have been destroyed from storms or other disasters. And there's been homes that have been built that have later survived other disasters in the region. And I always like to cover this because it's kind of an interesting setup, an interesting concept of using tried and true design in a grain bin and doing it as a home for those who have suffered disasters in third world areas. Truck hitches, fifth wheel hitches, workbenches. Well, Dude's Far is definitely here. I didn't doubt that they weren't here. It just was interesting that, unlike the previous times I've been to the show, they have been represented outside the main gate with tractors set up, but I guess we can get that opportunity this year. I always liked the styling of the Dudes. I thought it was very aggressive front end. 246 horsepower, 7250 TTV Dukes. Here we've got a 6160. And I just step down. And the 6190, we looked at this. This is the one we looked at the front of. Well, I guess not everything here at the show is larger than life. For a hobby farmer, we've got a little small manure spreader. Shredder. Stand-on loader. McFarlane machinery. You just can't beat a JCB. Quite a large booth here for JCB, showing you off all kinds of machinery from their telehandlers to their fast tracks. Loaders. Small excavators. Skid steers. And then there's a skid steer with a telescopic boom. U.S. Army version.
He had it custom built for 3 years.
So that particular skid steer is going to be auctioned off later this year for a very good cause. If you want to enter that auction, you can get more information from that QR code I put up on the screen. Ag spray with their assortment of spray tank trailers and spraying machinery. Something to be interesting to see added is more of these things, like modules you can add on to the back of your side-by-side or whatever, kind of go hand in hand with the concept of spot spraying with precision farming. Or someone who may be playing as a hobby farmist or a really small map, really small farm. There you go, that's the setup exactly like I was just talking about. Here with a Kubota side by side. Of course, we've seen mods that bring trailers like this into the game. It'd be interesting to see this come in kind of officially. With a company maybe like Ag Spray. Porsche is here at the show. Another European brand that's making its pretty prominent presence now here in the North America, South America. That's right. They are standing without having to worry at all about stooping under this Porsche sprayer. Can give you a sense of scale, right? Everything's about sense of scale with the show.
So it's funny to begin with. All it took was one guy to say it. Just hammered.
I just thought it was a little funny that in order to get up into our sprayer, right, we've got obviously a ladder, but then there's also a little step stool to get to the bottom of the ladder. Vermeer is here at the show. Very popular brand to come into the game with Farm Sim 19, I believe it was. Farm Sim 19 DLC. Then reintroduced with respect to Farm Sim 22. Continuing on. The kind of signature Vermeer self-propelled round baler. Here we've got a new model, ZR4S. Now what's interesting about this in real life compared to in game is that the bale module, the bale aspect of this machine, actually can be disconnected. So in theory, you could have different rear modules that you would back this whole kind of self-propelled frame up to. Something that would be interesting to have seen brought into the game eventually would be that ability to remove things, disconnect the bale module from the back and connect something else up to it, or possibly connect up a different
Can I ask for your written?
Of course, Vermeer has lots of other things like windrowers, manure spreaders, tedders, wheel rakes, feed mixers. You could say one of the most versatile tractors is the versatile tractor. They are here at the show with a few different models to show off. Here we've got the small 175, small in air quotes, of course, right? But of course it is small. Compared to the Delta Track. This one's the 580 DT, 580 horsepower, 638 peak horsepower. However, the big Cummins X15 engine
Get back on her feet. That's making it there.
kind of sharing the back of the booth with Versatile. We have FarmerKlein. Seed cleaners, augers, bale trailers. Now, Anderson was a big bale trailer add-in brand. We may see them on another day, but here we've got a big round bale trailer with the pickup arm there. Jenkins Iron and Steel. Brush mowers, tillers,
Who runs the combine? Well, no, what's the
attachments.
purpose? I guess my neck truck. Why are your deck plates better
Sure, I'll butcher this name. Piquet. We'll go with. Ag bag is coming up. something we've seen come to Farm Sim via mods, but again, I think it'd be pretty popular if it came in as a base functionality. Once again, I would butcher this, so we're not going to bother with trying to pronounce it. But we've got grain cleaning, grain transport. Again, it's something that'd be nice to see added to the game as far as functionality goes, is a grain cleaning solution where clean grain maybe gives you a better price because there's less debris and other things in the grain. So therefore, since it's cleaner, it should provide you a premium price because you've gone through that extra step of cleaning the grain. And then here we've got big feed mixers, feed wagons, machinery to clean your cow barns, and well, slurry pumps. All right, so this would be used to kind of clean.
That's another thing too on the small stuff.
Farmall 806. Growing up, this is a tractor that we had. Clearly, it didn't look like this, but it's a tractor we had. Open cab. Pick right. We have a manure spreader here. This is a brand I don't recall seeing at previous shows.
I think we're on the right track.
360 yield center. This is going to be a irrigation unit for corn and other type crops. Interesting, they've had to, well, do a little air reduction on the tires in order to get it so it can clear the ceiling. Just barely clears the ceiling to get it in here. Kind of the same general concept of the Nexat, not so much as far as the platform, single platform, but again, being able to go in and do tram lines, follow the tram lines and the in between the rows in order to go up and work the various rows and make their kind of way back to the center of the field then make its way across the field. That's what we're seeing here as a demo of the unit doing half the field, doing a turn, doing the other half, slowly working its way back to the all the way across. All right, folks, that is going to conclude our day one coverage of the National Farm Machine Show. Just going to give you a little sneak peek of what you can expect for day two. South Hall, big brands like Case, John Deere, New Holland, Massey Ferguson, AGCO, and much, much more. In fact, I don't even know if you can see the back of the hall in this shot or not. But more than likely, this hall will be split up over the course of 2 days. So do keep tuned to the channel, subscribe, like the video, share it with anyone you want. And remember, we'll be hosting a meetup for Farm Sim fans Friday night at Third Turn Brewing in Johnsontown Center. Got all the information up on the screen right there. Figure I'm going to show up around 7 o'clock and just kind of hang out for the evening and see who shows up. I might have some special gifts to hand out. So hopefully we'll see you soon.